No, and we're talking specifically about a teacher who's taught internationally for years from the Oakmont area, originally from Butler.
Has kids.
His name is Marc Fogel.
And I got to tell you, Guy Reschenthaler is spot on. But before you say, oh, this is just those damn Republicans, they sent a pretty poignant letter to the Biden administration. Say, why don't you give a damn? From Democrats and Republicans, including Mike Doyle, including Connor Lamb. Why don't you give a damn about Marc Fogel? Good morning, Congressman. How are you, sir?
Marty, good morning. Thanks for having me on. And I got to give the morning show credit here because it was the KDKA morning show that actually put this on my radar. I received a text from one of you guys a few weeks ago, sprang into action. And I'll tell you, I was optimistic at the start of this. We had bipartisan support, as you were just mentioning, the Democratic individuals on the letter. Bob Casey was behind it. We were really pushing this. And then Friday of last week, I got on the phone with a deputy secretary. She's actually the deputy secretary of state. Her name's Wendy Sherman. And I thought we were going to get some updates on progress. And it was the exact opposite. I walked away from that conversation disheartened. I feel like I made a compelling case for getting Mr. Fogel classified as wrongfully detained, and I can tell you why that's so important. But it didn't seem like there was urgency in this case. It doesn't seem like Mr. Fogel is getting the attention of Brittany Griner, of course, a professional basketball player, not getting the attention of Whelan, a former U.S. Marine. And I'm not asking for Marc Fogel to be prioritized above those two individuals. I just want him to be in this prisoner swap and elevated to wrongfully detained so we can bring him home.
And you bring up a great, and for those that don't know, you have served as a judge as well as being a trained professional attorney outside of being a congressman too. So
and a veteran.
You've been a judge. Yeah, so you have a lot in this and know a lot about the law when it comes to this kind of thing. To get that classification can be the difference, because if you were successful there, then they would have to recognize it and would have to work harder to try to get him out. And I think he's a political prisoner because he was an American, right?
Larry, absolutely. And yes, I went to Duquesne Law School. You're making me feel like I'm back in court practicing law. But there's an act called the Levinson Act, and there's 11 criteria in that act. And you see, does your situation match with that? And if you have compelling evidence, if you hit enough criteria, then you get the wrongfully detained status if you're detained overseas. I could prosecute this case any day of the week and win. Because Fogel only had a little over half an ounce of marijuana, yet he was sentenced to 14 years hard labor. By the way, he had a prescription for that, legal in Pennsylvania. So it wasn't like he was trafficking drugs, but his sentence is 14 years hard labor, which is typically reserved for drug traffickers. Right there should give him the wrongfully detained status and make him eligible in this hostage negotiation. Additionally, there's idiosyncrasies with his case, with due process was denied to him. It's clear that he's being held as a political prisoner. When I brought this up to the deputy secretary, it was dismissed offhand.
Hold on, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
It's important that you say this. It's very rare for him, quite frankly, because he is a busy man, to reach out and text me like this. But something happened in your conversation with the State Department that kind of implies that this guy is screwed, to be blunt. Be specific with me, please, Guy.
Yeah, Marty, so I texted you right after the call because, and here's why. When I was on the phone call, and by the way, it was a bipartisan, there were Democrats on that call too, and we were being dismissed, condescended to. I would describe the language as Ronald Reagan would describe it as bureaucratic gobbledygook. Just a whole bunch of excuse about process, procedure, why we were wrong. And then when I came back and made a rational, compelling case, she didn't know what to do. And they could tell that they're not used to dealing with people who are prepared, that have actually read the facts of the case. So for example, saying, well, she said it takes time to get somebody wrongfully detained, that wrongfully detained status. And I said, with all due respect, it took Brittany Griner 2 days, and Fogel has a lot more criteria in his corner than Brittany Griner ever did. Namely, he has a prescription for the drugs that he brought over.
And he could die. By the way, I don't want to run out of time here. He could die in prison. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah, this is tantamount to a death sentence for Mr. Fogel. He's, I believe, in his late 60s, 14 years. He already has health issues. So let's prioritize this. Let's get him in wrongfully detained status and bring him home with his prisoner swap.
Well, is there anything left that can be done at this point to keep the pressure on?
So here's my strategy. I'll be very blunt about it. I want to try to get as much local media attention as possible. I'm then going to take the local media attention and pitch it to national media. Hopefully the national media will pick up on it and we'll be able to get attention, because it's very clear the State Department is only going to move if they're getting pressured from outside. I think that's why they moved with Griner, of course, with her celebrity.
That's right.
That's why they moved with Whelan. And so thank you for what you're doing, because you're helping me move this case forward.
Guy, we can't thank you enough, and the Fogel family in particular. I'm glad that it's a nonpartisan effort to get Marc Fogel freed from hard labor in Russia. Appreciate your efforts, and we'll continue to help however we can.
Hey, thanks, gentlemen. Take care.